In the golden silence of the Egyptian desert, beneath the eternal gaze of the pyramids, lies one of humanity's oldest mysteries, the Book of the Dead. This was not a book in the way we understand today, but a collection of sacred scrolls written over 3,500 years ago on fragile papyrus. Its pages whispered secrets meant only for the dead, guiding the soul on its perilous journey through the afterlife. When tomb robbers stumbled upon these texts, they found strange illustrations, gods with the heads of jackals and falcons, boats sailing across a dark river, and the soul of man weighed against a single feather. To the ancient Egyptians, death was not an end, but a voyage, a test of truth, courage, and purity. And the Book of the Dead was the map. But this was not a universal guide. Each copy was unique, personalized for kings, queens, and even ordinary people who could afford it. Names were inserted, spells were altered, and prayers were whispered to protect the soul from chaos. Even today, as we gaze upon these ancient hieroglyphs, we can feel the pulse of fear and hope within them, a promise that if the rituals were followed, the spirit could pass safely into the field of reeds, a paradise beyond imagination. But what trials awaited on this path? To understand, we must open the scroll and step beyond the threshold of life itself.
Once the heart stopped beating, the soul entered the Duat, the mysterious underworld of ancient Egypt. It was a realm of shadows and shifting landscapes, guarded by monstrous beings and ruled by the god Osiris. Here the soul traveled aboard the solar boat, guided by Ra, the sun god, through 12 gates, one for each hour of the night. At every gate the spirit faced a test. Some gates were guarded by serpent demons, others by fiery lakes or waters of darkness. But the dead were not helpless. Within the Book of the Dead lay the sacred words, utterances of power. When spoken correctly, they could calm the monsters, open locked gates, and light the way through eternal night. Still, the path was perilous. One mistake, one forgotten spell, and the soul would be lost forever in the void, devoured by Amet, the devourer of the dead. The Duat was not a punishment, it was a proving ground. Only those whose hearts were pure and whose minds were strong could reach the hall of truth. And there, beneath the watchful eye of Osiris, awaited the final test, the weighing of the heart.
In the Hall of Two Truths, the soul stood before 42 divine judges. At the center sat Osiris, god of the dead, flanked by Isis and Nephthys. Before them was the great scale of Ma'at, balance, justice, and cosmic truth. The heart of the deceased was placed on one side, and on the other the feather of Ma'at, symbol of divine order. If the heart was light, the soul had lived a just life. But if it was heavy with sin, deceit, or violence, it would be devoured by Amet, a creature part lion, part crocodile, part hippopotamus. Many believed this was the most terrifying moment of existence, yet the Book of the Dead gave hope. Spells such as the Declaration of Innocence allowed the soul to proclaim, "I have not lied, I have not stolen. I have not slain unjustly. It was not only about morality. It was about balance. To live by Ma'at was to live in harmony with the universe. And so, the weighing of the heart was not a judgment. It was a reflection of truth itself. Those who passed the test were led to the next stage, the rebirth of the soul. Those who failed vanished into eternal nothingness.
Beyond the judgment, the blessed soul continued its ascent through radiant fields and shimmering waters known as the Field of Reeds. This was paradise, the mirror image of life on earth, but perfected. Here the Nile never flooded too much or too little. Crops grew endlessly, and the air shimmered with divine light. Yet even paradise required knowledge. The dead had to know the names of the gods, for names held power. They had to recognize the sacred symbols, recite hymns, and remember who they were. Only then could they become an ox, a spirit of light united with the divine. In this state, the soul could travel freely between worlds, watching over loved ones, speaking through dreams, or joining Ra on his daily journey across the sky. But the Book of the Dead hinted at something more, a deeper transformation, that the soul, purified through trials and guided by truth, could merge with the eternal light itself. To the Egyptians, this was immortality, not endless existence, but eternal harmony with the cosmos. For centuries, the Book of the Dead was buried with the dead, hidden from the eyes of the living. When archaeologists uncovered it, they found not just funerary rituals, but psychological wisdom far ahead of its time. Every spell, every symbol reflected the inner journey of the human spirit. The serpent battles symbolized fear. The weighing of the heart symbolized truth. And the journey through the Duat symbolized rebirth, the eternal cycle of transformation. Modern scholars began to see it not only as religion, but as philosophy, a spiritual manual for overcoming darkness within ourselves. Perhaps, in their own way, the Egyptians had already mapped the human soul, describing not death, but awakening. And so, the book still speaks today. Its message echoes across the sands: to live in truth, to act with balance, and to walk in harmony. This is the path of the eternal. In the silence of the desert, where the winds whisper through the bones of forgotten temples, the symbols of Ma'at still endure. The feather, the scales, the wings of balance carved into crumbling stone. They remind us that the Book of the Dead was never only about the dead. It was a guide for the living. To face our own shadows, to keep our hearts light, to speak truth even when it trembles in our throats. Every soul, in the end, must walk its own path through darkness. But those who live with compassion, balance, and integrity, they have already passed the test. As the ancient priests wrote thousands of years ago, "The soul who knows Ma'at shall never die." And so, when the final sunset comes for us all, perhaps the gates will open, and Ra's boat
will carry us across the river of stars toward the eternal dawn.